Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I've never been written by a puppet.
Tristan Jones.
Somehow I think Frank's lying, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to talk about the 6th episode of the Amazon Prime Video series Gen V. Of course, it's from the world of the boys. And before I get everyone's thoughts on the episode, which was titled Jumanji, I want to get to some news real quick because Gen V had some news last week, like right the same day that episode 6 premiered. The show was renewed for a second season. So it was renewed after only 5 episodes aired. And Eric Kripke, who is the brains behind the boys operation over at Amazon, he said that season 1 of Gen V will hand off to season 4 of the boys, and then the boys will then hand off to season 2 of Gen V. So I want to get y'all's thoughts real quick about the renewal and obviously the connection to the boys series, which I mean it's a direct, like I said, it's like handing the baton off and they're continuing the race. Frank, let's start with you. What do you think about the show being renewed so quickly?
I'm disappointed it wasn't renewed sooner. I thought it would have been renewed around episode 3 or 2. Like it's like they knew they had a Eric Kripke and Seth Rogen, those guys, they knew they had a gold mine with this show. Like you could tell by the first episode and how it's tied into the boys, and like to me it's not a spinoff. It's like its own monster. It's like its own entity of its own. Like this show is so good it can stand on its own and be like its own separate universe. Like how the Watchmen is to DC and Superman and all that. Like it's that good. I'm glad they got the renewal. I can't wait to see what this world is going to look like in season 2, jumping off the point of the boy season 4. But I mean, I'm excited. I just thought it would happen sooner. I in my mind I thought it had already been renewed. I mean, I don't like Rotten Tomatoes has given this shit like a 90-some% each of the last 3 weeks. So yeah, so
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really surprised. To me, it was more of just the way the boys, the way they fly through everything. I was like, this might just be like a one season show because they just have one season to tell the story they want to tell, which will then feed into season 4, and we'll be going after that. Tristan, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it was great news. Like it demonstrates that these characters on Gen V are not like these cosmetic characters only meant for this show. Like they do play a larger role in the universe at large. Um, as far as like having the seasons roll into each other, I think it's super ambitious because we know we start with Marvel, like any slight delay, we have tragedies, we have strikes, so all these different things can happen that can kind of upset that perfect handoff between this show and that show. So it's very ambitious. So it's good to see that they're not just kind of resting on, we got these 2 shows, both popular, both very good. It's like let's merge and like really expand the universe, and I guess validated it, I guess, in a way, but like this is a legitimate universe that we don't just have to really focus on one show. So it's good news. Good to hear. Like I said, I was surprised it didn't get renewed earlier, but good news nonetheless.
Yeah, Brittany, what do you think about the news?
I mean, I want to say I called it maybe in the premiere pod that we did about how the show had to at some point integrate with the story of the boys. So I mean, it might not be solid line, it's kind of dotted line at this point, but I like the idea of the handoff from one show to the other and then back. But Tristan makes a good point. It's super ambitious, but there are things that can obviously delay that sort of storyline or whatever may happen. But I think it's great news, obviously, that we're going to get a second season. I'm very curious as to how the story will develop because it's really smart. It's a smart strategy to get you invested in this world. And if you like Gen V without having watched The Boys, well, now you need to watch The Boys in order to understand who those characters are and what that storyline is about, how that has fed into the storyline for Gen V and then back to The Boys. So it's brilliant. It's brilliant marketing, honestly. I'm here for it. I'm very invested.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. It's like an entry point. You can jump in and not have seen the boys, and then if you like Gen V, obviously you're gonna want to go back and watch, the boys, which, the way people binge stuff, there's not a ton of boys seasons and episodes out there. So there's only 24 so far. But good news nonetheless. So yeah. So we'll be doing more boys content in the future. So that was exciting for us. Let's get to Jumanji episode 6. Just kind of give like a little like quick synopsis. Like I thought this was a very interesting episode. The way it opens, how we left off in episode 5, where they learned that Cate was also in on this thing with Betty, and she's using her powers to her powers of persuasion, I guess you could say, to tell people to forget things or do certain things. And we open up this episode, and she's restoring everyone's memories, which, as we've seen in previous episodes, whenever she uses her powers too often, she loses consciousness, and we see her. She has like a seizure, and then she's like in this trance where we see Marie, Jordan, and Andre are like trapped in her memories,
And
Frank
Dusty.
and Dusty, right? Well, yeah, R.I.P. to Dusty, which he didn't make it. I guess if you die in the dreams, you die, right? It's like a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of stuff.
Well, I don't think it's so much dreams as it is you're in her consciousness or subconsciousness, and she's still powerful even there. Every broken blood vessel could result in your death, and it did for Dusty.
So, Brittany, I'll let you start off. What'd you think about the episode overall?
It was a fantastic episode. I mean, just to kind of tie in what I was talking about with the boys, that cameo of Soldier Boy, and you don't know who Soldier Boy is unless you've watched season 3 of the boys, because he had a huge role to play throughout that season. That 2-minute cameo was just wonderful. I mean, we'll come back to it. Overall, it was really interesting to understand Cate, her memories, and it wasn't just her and her memories, because the others, Marie, Jordan, and Andre, not so much Dusty, because Dusty got kind of murked early on, but their memories are intertwined as well. So it was really interesting to see the links that connected them in a weird way. However, it was sad. It was really sad to see their internal trauma, right? If you will. And I really felt for Cate. I mean, I felt for her at the end of episode 5, but even more so for this, because she's developed relationships and she's still doing the bidding of Shetty, and she's not content with it, and it hurts her every single time that she's had to use her powers on her friends. So, but overall, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it.
Frank, overall thoughts on this episode?
Before I get into that, I want to say this. I called it with old girl. I said she was a Jean Grey adjacent superhero. I said, I was like, there's more to her powers than what they're showing, and the fact that she's a telekinetic and telekinesis, like to be able to project memories and all that, like she might be the most powerful person on the show. But to go back to your question, I love the episode. I love how they start the series with like all these superpower people, and then come back and like give nuggets of their stories and the origins, and like all the background stuff that you don't see or have an idea until they unveil that to you. But dog, these kids are fucked up, man. Like these this is some like old boy Dirty Mackin, like on Luke's girl. Like this is some this is some Gen Z shit, dog. This is some fucked up shit. Like I'm just surprised that like
it's not our generation.
No,
it's the other generation.
No, that's the generation behind. Like, ain't no fucking way my homie will be alive if that shit was going on amongst the crew. That's some wild shit. I know we'll get into it, but like, I love the episode. I love the actors in this. I love how I just love how they're spoon feeding you like all of these important ingredients to like what makes these kids so fucked up.
And yeah, so like the way they get trapped within her subconscious and in her memories, and we get to see like their own personal memories. It serves as like exposition because none of them. And what other vehicle would there have been in this episode for all the rest of them to learn about Andre and Cate, or to learn about Jordan's basically complicity in Brink's murder? Like we've never known. Like Marie was never going to tell them the gory details of how her parents got killed. So it serves as like really good exposition for me. Once you got past that, because I was very, very confused at the beginning of that episode. Because obviously you could tell that they were in Kate's memory at first, but like when it starts to shift, you start to like, where are we? What is the point of this? And the point of it obviously was like them to learn about each other more. But this is all set up to like bring them back to Cate. Like Cate is still a sympathetic figure, and she's still somebody that they should care for and try to save in a way, because there has to be some level of empathy. If we can understand that the school is messing them up, it's fucking them up in some type of way, we have to. You can't separate Cate from that. It's not like school is fucking everybody else up, and she's, one of the ringleaders. Like she's a impressionable, essentially, not child, but like young woman. Like, and she's, susceptible to them having leverage over her and doing a bit. So, big fan of the episode. The Soldier Boy. Can't wait to talk about Soldier Boy. After a very crushing defeat, I watched that episode, and like the Soldier Boy, cameo lifted me all the way up. So just for that alone, this episode is like a good 8.8 at worst out of 10.
Diddle that skittle.
So
Yeah,
I have a question
Go ahead,
real
Brittany.
quick. So while on the subject of Cate, of course, and Frank, you did call it about her having similar powers to that of Jean Grey. We just didn't get to see maybe the full fledge of it. But I wondered, and I don't know if y'all wondered this as well, while the crew are in her mind, at any point did it come across as, is Cate still working them? Like still through her power of suggestion, that she's manipulating them to some degree by having them relive these memories? Or, could she, even in her subconscious, just be fucking with them for maybe a greater purpose that has yet to be revealed?
I don't think so. Only from the mere fact that one scene from last week, episode 5, where she's distraught. Like she's devastated. She's talking to Shetty and she's like, I can't do this anymore. I'm lying to my friends. I'm lying. This is tearing me apart. And like she looked candidly distraught and like fucked up. That wasn't an acting role. That's her like the rubber's meeting the road, and like she's having a breakdown. And like you see the precipice of the breakdown last week before she passes out and damn near went Dark Phoenix on everybody. So I don't think she's playing him. I think her coming clean and giving the memories back to them. Shetty don't know all of this. I don't think Shetty knows all of this. I think Shetty still thinks that these kids are don't remember anything, and she's in case still has her influence on them. So I think she's now on the kids side, as far as like trying to break away from Shetty and God you and in the woods and all of that.
I agree. I didn't feel and Brittany, that's an interesting question. I didn't feel that way when I was watching the episode. I felt like Tristan said, she's a sympathetic character, and obviously as we're going through her memories, we see her. We found out early in the season that she told her little brother, like, run away and never come back or whatever. And that's what he did. And I don't think she even knew she had the power to do that. So we see like Kate's mom and the cops. They're looking for her brother, and then we have a really great scene that I think we all share our thoughts on. But where we see her friends are now watching outside the window, which I loved how they did this with all these memories, where the people are there and they can like they can interact with the with the other characters in the memory. That happened in almost every one of those scenes where these people you're seeing this memory, but then they can also like look at the other three and be like, oh yeah, I see you there. We're gonna go after you or whatever. And you see like Luke talking to Andre, but specifically with the scene with Kate, and we see that she was like trapped in a room for like 9 years, and Shetty comes to visit her, and Kate's mom tells Shetty, like keep your distance and don't let her touch you, and then like you see Shetty try to get on her good side, or try to make her feel at ease and tell her it's okay if you take off your gloves, it's not your fault what happened to your brother. And then she gives her these pills to take to make to turn off the voices in her head. And you also get this see where Shetty asks Kate for if she wants a hug, and you could see on the actress's face like this is like the first time she's had like human contact in like almost a decade, and she cries as they hug. And it's just like I think through that I never thought she was like trying to screw over her friends who were trapped inside of her head.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't either. It's just one of those things where you kind of have to play both sides, where she could be using her power still to manipulate and have her friends have some sort of sympathy towards her, but she's still going to do the thing that she's been doing with Shetty. You know what I mean? Like kind of throw them off the scent a little. So, but because she appears to be far more powerful than what they believe she is, it's kind of, I think it's just kind of a necessary question to pose, because she's obviously lost their trust. However, in the end, Marie did say, yeah, you're going to have to work really hard to gain it back. So like, in other words, don't fuck it up. Don't manipulate us again. And I think what may have really been the turning point was Andre's plead to Kate. He's like, no, he goes, I don't want to fucking love you because you manipulated me. You did all this to me. I can't trust you again. But you have a choice in this moment, here and now, because their lives are tied into her subconscious. If she chooses never to wake up, they're not going to wake up either. Right. And so by Andre saying like, no one before has given you a choice. You have a choice here and now. Like, do the right thing. Like, face it, own it, do the right thing.
Yeah. Oh, man, Andre a hoe, bro. God damn. That's a whole ass thing right there, dog.
Tell us how you really feel, Frank.
That's some Aubrey Drake shit.
Wow.
Like,
we're gonna go Aubrey Drake.
That's some Aubrey Drake Graham shit right there. I that shit had me. I was so enraged just seeing like it's one thing to fuck your homeboy's girl when he's dead. To fuck her while she's alive, like, and to smile on this man's face and tell him how much you love this man, admire this man.
Yeah, but who instigated it? I wonder.
It doesn't matter who instigated the fact that Andre had total control over it. Like it was believed that Kate didn't mind control him into fucking her. That was all because that was all him.
No, I know. I'm just suggesting if she came onto him first or he came on her. You know what I'm saying? Like, not that it really matters ultimately, but like it's just a question I have.
Yeah.
Someone say something.
Oh yeah, I was waiting on the next thing.
No,
nothing to add on it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the whole Kate situation? Her seeing her, growing up, how she was stuck in a room for 10 years, almost 9 years. Like that's pretty traumatic experience. That kind of shows us who this character becomes.
My thing watching that was, if what Kate said is to be believed in that all their parents pretty much elected to shoot them up with Compound V or have them shot up with Compound V. What's the point on the back end? Like, once you see the results of said Compound V, of then treating your daughter like this caged animal. Like, if anything, unless she's like demonstrating psychopathic behavior and just trying to do harm to everybody she sees, like, wouldn't it make more sense to try to understand these powers and try to I don't understand the dehumanization of it after. Like, again, this was not a choice that Kate made as a child to have these powers. Like, this is completely out of her control. So like I don't like that. Like, And again, a consistent issue throughout the show, and really through the boys' universe, is the role of these parents in essentially the mutilization of their children, right? And then not being able to deal with the results, the consequences of the parents' action, not the kids. Like, yeah, these kids are fucked up. Like their whole lives pretty much have been rerouted and retrained in different ways outside of their control, and they're the ones who have to deal with all the emotions, all of, in certain cases, life or death situations that come with it. So it's another example of like one of the biggest themes of this show and this universe is that the parents are trash, completely trash.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Frank is calling, Andre a hoe ass, what, but it's really the parents that are the
Oh, no, that was the first point I made last week. I was like,
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, I think last week I said, I'm paraphrasing, the monsters aren't the soups, it's the humans. Like
Mhm.
those are the monsters of the show. Like they are the scientists of Frankenstein. They are the manipulators. They're the monsters. They're the true monsters of the show.
Mhm.
Um, to even expand on Tristan's point of the parents being trash, you not only are you benefiting financially from dehumanizing and making your kids science pets. To make things worse, I'm sure they were prepped on, like, they know that, okay, they're gonna be super able, but you don't know what kind of powers these kids are gonna get. You don't know if they're gonna become just superhuman, like superhuman or super fast. You don't know if they're gonna become super psychotic. Like, you don't like the fact that you're putting the 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 physical safety and the mental safety of these kids in peril just to make a buck makes you like you're a true monster. Like, I think, like, look at Sam. Sam is the benefactor of not only just science experiments, but his parents. If his parents never signed a dotted line of, like, one of my kids to be super able, who knows? Maybe Sam is not schizophrenic, or maybe Sam is not seeing puppets and shit, and going on a murders rampage. We'll never know because he never had that choice. And that's the saddest thing about this show is that these kids don't have choices. They're given a scenario and they're forced to live with it.
Amen.
Yeah, and to Tristan's point about the parents, especially with Kate's mom, it's like, he's right. Like, you pump this kid full of these drugs and then to become a soup. But then, like, you're treating this kid like it's, like you have her in this like dungeon. It's like, wouldn't you? I mean, you don't care about this kid obviously anyway. Wouldn't you just go ahead and turn her over to Vought or whoever? And I mean, I don't see, like, what are the parents getting out of it? Like, in that scenario, it's like you have this kid that you're afraid to be around because she told your other kid to beat it and never come back. Yet you keep her like locked away like as a prisoner, but like you're the one who created it. So like what's like if you're the parent, it's like, what are you doing? Like what?
Why not send her to Red River,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
like the soup orphanage
Right.
basically? Or
Mhm.
the other question I wonder, it just popped in my head. Did Kate's parents inject her brother with compound V as well? Like,
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
mean, he hasn't been seen or heard from in over a decade, right? But who's to say he couldn't have survived to some degree? Now, granted, we presume he's younger than her, but if if it's true about the age when powers start to show, maybe he wasn't too far off from having abilities. If I don't know, that's a whole other situation right there, but it would
Yeah.
be a pretty cool plot twist if at some point Caleb, which is the brother, pops back up into her life or something, and boom, he's a soup and he's out for revenge. You know what I mean? Like, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, it could be explored in season 2 of Gen V.
I have a question for y'all, man. And, like, this question came to me while I was watching it. I watched it this morning. Um, knowing what you know, and, like, knowing, like, the involvement of the parents, and like how much of lack of choices these kids had. Do you have a newfound empathy for Homelander now knowing what we see now?
Woo, that
I
is
had I guess I had some empathy at the beginning. Like once we kind of found out a lot of his backstory and how he was created. Yeah, but like there's a line. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the once you turn that trauma into creating trauma for other people, innocent people, then that line goes out the window. But yeah, of course, like I think a big part of undercurrent of these shows are that we should have empathy for pretty much all these people, right? Like very few of them, if any, chose this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they've been kind of pimped and prodded scientifically and all these different things, like dehumanized in every situation to become this, this image or become like these beacons of superhero dumb. If that's not even a word, but like
sounds good though. It sounds good.
Yeah,
I
it
believe
sounds
it.
great. Superhero dumb.
I-
So yeah, and how can you really? They're all fucked up. Even the adults on the boys, they're fucked up. Like just like we see, basically, like we talk about people who have been child stars. You look at Britney Spears and like all the different mental health things that come with it. They have to deal with all these things. Plus, there's literally nowhere for them to hide. There's a tower that everybody knows where it's at. They're like a zoo. Except they get to go out and live lives, but they never really get to live like normal lives as humans because that's not the part that gets emphasized. It's always the soup part. So, yeah, of course, we should have empathy for all these people, all these soups, all these people involved. To the extent to which we should have empathy depends on what they do with, their powers or the trauma that they had to deal with.
I struggle with the line, and I'm not to disagree with you, T, because you make compelling points. I think I watched this episode twice, and like the more I watch this episode, it takes me back to the boys. Like I don't know, there is a line for like a lot of these heroes, because like a lot of these superheroes, because like if you're Homelander, dude, like your genetic material came from another psychotic superhero. So it's like the line's non-existent at this point. Like you were born from from the genetic material of a crazy motherfucker who's already crazy. Like there was no, and then on top of that, you didn't have parents. You grew up in a fucking science lab. You know what I'm saying? You was manipulated from the time you was an embryo, and it's like, and I'm not trying to forget all these things that Homelander did. He's a fucking maniac, but they created this maniac. Is my point. So
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to have a line for somebody who was born on the line, like the line was never created for him because like he didn't have a shot to be his own person, and it's like there's always been scientific research to show people who didn't grow with one parent or two parents. This man had no parents. He was literally raised by science and by a corporation who wanted to profit off of him. It's kind of like I struggle with it, man. I really do. Like with the superhero villains, is like they didn't choose to be villains. They were they were given they were given their fate by these people who try to make a buck off of them, including the people in the Seven.
My one rebuttal to that is that Homelander, we've also seen Homelander have the capacity to feel. And if you have the capacity to feel, then there's some type of moral compass within you somewhere, either because it's baked into your DNA like humans are, or you develop it as after certain circumstances, right? Like the circumstances determine, oh, hey, here's a moral black, white, here's a moral right, wrong, the gray area, so on and so forth. But yeah, everything, like they absolutely created him, and maybe they did not know exactly what they're creating, but they profited off of him. So like they're absolutely complicit 100%. But like whatever he is, human to, there's something there that he absolutely understands what he's doing, and he chooses to go over that line. So like, yeah, he was created, but he still has to be held accountable in some type of way, you know what I'm saying, for the things that he's done. And if we just accept the fact that just because he was created a certain way, that and I'm not saying you're saying this, but like that he, absolved of those things, then we lose that moral line too.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
got to be held accountable, even though, yeah, you're a certified, maniac, maniacal creation.
yeah.
I'm just gonna say the very fact that after finding out that what the fuck was her name? Storm person,
Stormfront.
Miss
Stormfront,
Mrs. Vought was a fucking Nazi, and he still chose to stay with her. And emphasis on word chose. He made a choice. Okay, that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. And this is, piggybacking off what Tristan is saying. Of course, if you can feel something, then you have a working understanding of right and wrong, gray area, that kind of thing. But he made that choice to continue being a god in his own mind, being with the woman whose husband created the thing that created them as to be soups. And while he might not have agreed with her ideology about, the Nazis and, this and that, what have you, he still was with her. So
Eh,
that
Homelander
doesn't read well in my book.
Homelander reminds me a lot of Alexander the Great from this standpoint. Vought was Olympus. Olympus was Alexander the Great's mother. From the day that Alexander the Great was born, he was told he was a god. He was told this. He was developed to be this. Like he was that was his main thesis of his life. And from the time that Homelander was creating this test tube and packaged as his hero, he was told he was a god by Vought, by the people that by the masses. Like when you're thought of this and of this celestial being, the f- the ability to feel is not human anymore because like you don't see yourself as human. You see yourself as above everything else, and like they created a monster. He didn't have a chance. Like he didn't have a chance to even have like the human element of feel because like in his mind he's not human because I've been told I'm this savior of the world, like of the world. Like he's like he's God's beacon savior of this whole planet. Like the hubris that you get from that, y- you don't you don't have the chance to feel like us. You know what I'm saying? Like it changes your whole synopsis of a human as a human being, well as a god. So
Oh, yeah.
Well, from Homelander, let's talk about his dad, or I guess his sperm donor. Let's talk about Soldier Boy, who made his what a cameo, his triumphant return, sort of. We learned that Soldier Boy is
He
Kate's
he
imaginary
told
friend.
everyone how
Yeah.
Kate felt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Soldier Boy was Kate's imaginary friend because as we talked about last week, the teaser for episode 6, they showed him and you're like, how is this possible? Because of what happened at the end of season 3 of The Boys. He's still alive, but barely. So how could he possibly be back, suited up in his Captain America-esque garb? And I love how when he walks into the scene, he has like a Captain America like theme behind him. I thought that was so awesome. Um, Brittany, I'm just gonna let you take it away. What did you think about the cameo?
I mean, in true Soldier Boy fashion, he greets the crew. He's like, "Who the fuck are you? And what the fuck are you doing here?" And of course, the kids are kind of like, "Oh my god, Soldier Boy! Like, what are you doing here?" He's like, "I'm Kate's imaginary friend. Her boyfriend actually taught her how to." I can't even say it. I can't even say it so bad. I can say penis, pee, and dick on here, but I can't say the thing he was saying. Oh my god. He taught Kate.
Diddle the skittle, man.
Yep.
Oh man, thank you.
Flick
Yeah.
the
that's
Diddle
bean.
the
that's
old
gonna
Like
be
the
my
skittle.
bean.
that's gonna be my fantasy football name for next year. Diddle the
Oh
Skittle.
god. Jesus. Yeah, I'm gonna probably not have Skittles for a really long time now. Thanks. Uh yeah, I mean the cutaways were just fantastic because the kids are just like, "You're really fucking weird." And it was just wonderful. I mean, again, I think he was on screen for all of 2 minutes and he leaves a lasting impression on you. But I mean, aside from the funny phrases, he kind of was insightful as to why, not why, but what was happening inside Kate's mind, right? He tells them where they are, that the lightning that they're seeing is really not lightning. It's blood vessels that are bursting in real time. And if you want to survive, you got to figure out like how to get out of there, obviously. And he was about to leave them with, I would hope, some important piece of information. However, he too came to his demise inside Kate's mind. So I guess she won't be returning to him for pillow talk anytime soon.
There you go.
Yikes.
Skittle is safe. Yeah, I mean, Soldier Boy, again, it was needed because, like, what other way were we going to find out, or they were going to find out how to get out of there, right? Like, not just the comic relief, not just the abrasive Soldier Boy language as we used to. Like, Soldier Boy actually, also provided like some little context about Kate's childhood. Some we didn't need to know, but no, like he actually served as a vehicle to figure out like how to move that plot line. So like I thought it was just an excellent use of like just the Soldier Boy cameo. It could have just been comic relief, and it could have been just comic relief, and I would have been fine with it. I needed it in the moment, but like he actually like proved to be a very valuable part of that. I think LeBron just got dropped. Oh my God. He proved to be a very valuable part of that episode. Like even in like 90 seconds that we saw him.
Yeah, Frank, you have any thoughts on Soldier Boy, the cameo?
That was very creepy, man. Kate's like 18, right?
No, I think she's like in her
Like 20,
early 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she's like a senior, so she's probably early 20s.
There you go.
Still creepy because Soldier Boy's like old as fuck, and like that's.
Listen, he's
That's-
hot though. It's fine.
Yeah, but
You
it's
also-
the pillow. It's not him. It's the pillow.
Oh,
Yeah, but him talking about it in that manner, it's like that's like old man down the street type talk, like about
That's
a
true.
young. It was just creepy. That was pretty cringy. But no, it was comic relief, and it was while simultaneously him being the keys for them to get out of there. So, I mean, I love Soldier Boy. I think he's a funny comic relief character, but that shit was creepy as fuck. The way he was talking about it, that was wild.
and even for the kids to reveal to him at that moment, because obviously this is a version of Soldier Boy that lives in her memory. He doesn't know that he was recruited, by the Soviets, and he has a lot of feelings towards that. I'm not a commie. It's like I'm red-blooded. Well, not like commies. I'm red, white, and blue.
Yeah,
I'm part Star Spangled
Yeah.
Banner.
Yeah, not commie red, but red, white, and blue red.
Yeah. It's just the delivery is wonderful. I mean, yeah, he's great. And his little knock knock joke, and like, knock knock, who's there? Fuck your face. That's being a true red blooded or red, white, and blue American right there, y'all.
I just wanted to give his little quote here. He said, talking about Kate with her pillow, she'd crank up the Jonas Brothers and she'd hump a Soldier Boy pillow. She'd raw dog that pillow till she saw God. It was pretty romantic. That's what he said.
The use of the Jonas Brothers, especially in real time now, what's
Oh,
happening with
God.
Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner is like, oh Lord, have mercy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was a bit
Yeah.
much.
So from humping pillows to just regular humping, we got Emma and Sam.
Hey.
That was, I mean,
so from humping pillows to humping puppets.
no, there you go. There you go, Brittany.
I thought Sam was gonna kill her on accident.
I didn't think that because
for a
she's too
split
important of a
second.
character, but yeah, right.
Because like for one, he's like powerful as fuck. He doesn't know how to control his emotions or his physical manifestations, I guess, in a way. I thought he might split her in half. I was so nervous for her. I really
You
was.
think his appendage is equally strong?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay. Okay.
Are we going to talk about kryptonite condoms or what's going on here?
Yo.
This is where we're going with this.
I wonder why it is that Sam sees not quite reality, but sees puppets, right? You know, even though he's in the moment, obviously he's enjoying the moment, but then it flashes to puppet version of Emma, and he's able to kind of snap out of it, come back to reality, and then we have a very Titanic moment of the hand on a glass, you know, coming down, and I'm like, okay, which is sure. We'll go with that.
I wonder if Sam was already schizophrenic before the Compound V. And somebody might have asked this last week, but like, I wonder if the Compound V just enhanced dramatically. It's kind of like triple, because that's severe schizophrenia.
Yeah.
To where you like at any moment you could, you know, are processing, you know, fake, you know, artificial life and real life at the same time. So I wonder, like, I wonder if another thing we find out is that Compound V just really extends or enhances like things that you already have. You know what I'm saying? If like that's the key to finding out like what, you know, what these powers have. Like if you were predisposed to like, you know, having sex with animals, like you got Compound V and became invisible, like does that like then enhance like your proclivity to want to sleep with animals and stuff like that? So I wonder.
So you're saying Tech Knight, well, no, it was the brain cancer that caused it, but if he didn't have the brain cancer and his obsessions with holes, and Compound V would have enhanced that.
Yeah, so like maybe he was always meant to be a sicko.
Well, that wouldn't be far, but you know, obviously you're on something about the Compound V and obviously how the body behaves with it, given what we learned in this episode about the woods. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
No, we can.
However,
If we don't talk about it now, we can jump to it. That's fine, because as you mentioned, Brittany, we see that, you know, Dr. Cardoza and Shetty, he is testing his virus on a soup. Her name is Betsy. And the virus is designed where it only affects soups. We see, like, you know, he says it attaches to the Compound V in their blood. And he says it's a way that we can compassionately control soups. And he gives her this I don't know if it's by injection or whatever, but she's very sick, right? She's very sick. She still has some control of some powers, but, you know, they're obviously, you know, they have control of her. And then Shetty's like, you know, let's concentrate the dose. Let's see how far we can push this. And then we get to the end of the episode, and Betsy's died. She died. And you know, Cardoza
pretty horrifically.
Yeah, she looked really bad. And Cardoza, you know, earlier in the episode, he was ready to submit his report to VOD. He's like, hey, I finally figured it out. We have a way to control them, this virus. And, you know, Shetty was like, no, that's not good enough. And then, you know, after, you know, finding out that they've killed this soup, you know, Shetty's like, let's make it contagious. And I mean, that's the ending of this episode. It's like a banger ending, because she like turns to the camera and she's like, can we make this now? Can you make it contagious? Like the music hits and it's like, wow, she is like, this is a super evil person. Go for it.
So, couple things, and then I'm going to pose a question to y'all. So, it's a really interesting turn of events, given the boys, Gen V, soups exists in a world where it's, you know, widely accepted. Humans create Compound V, right? Humans inject V in babies. Babies, in turn, grow up being soups or believing that they were born this way. Doesn't matter. But soups end up working for humans. Humans create virus to make soups sick. Soups die from the virus. Humans want to make virus contagious to soups. Like, human beings truly are the monsters in this world. Like, I know we've talked about this endlessly before, but like, I want to pose this question to y'all. I'm going to start with Frank. Because it seems, from what little we do know about Shetty, she, in the very beginning of the series, said that she was hired by Vought to solve problems, right? Don't really know what the problem is, but now we're kind of getting a better understanding of it. She also made a comment about how she had a daughter, right? Once upon a time. Given the fact that she wanted to enhance this virus, right? And they've successfully killed a soup with the virus. Now she wants to make it contagious. Do you think that her agenda and being hired by Vought has something to do with maybe the daughter that she no longer has? Do you think maybe she injected her daughter with V, and that daughter is no longer with us as a result of it?
Or no longer under her control.
That's another great point.
I think the way that she phrased "I had a daughter" was vague enough for us to be able to make an assumption or draw a conclusion that daughter is still alive, but that daughter and her are not aligned in some type of way. Which leaves room for us to speculate about who have we seen in this universe that could possibly be her daughter, and also be young Marie's benefactor at the same time. I'm very curious as to like the purpose of making this disease contagious. Like, I'm just kind of seeing where you're going, like the wheels that are spinning, Brittany. Like, if it has something to do with her daughter, I don't know. Like, is this like, does Vought have some type of leverage over her? Like, what is it like? Again, like, if you work at a place where you treat and work with and build up soups, what would be the purpose of having a disease that eradicates soups? Unless Vought is trying to find a way to get like soups more under control, because season 3 of The Boys show said that soups are completely out of control, more so than they were in the previous 2 seasons. I don't know. That was a banger, like you said, banger cliffhanger, because like the possibilities are endless as to like where they go with that.
Frank, do you think it could be a personal vendetta of Shetty to make this virus contagious and therefore taking out soups, and kind of just spitballing here? Are they creating this virus to wean out the problematic soups?
I think it's one of two things. I think her daughter died in the hands of a soup, and I think she's probably angry and wants to, and in some form of fashion, wants to destroy soups or decimate them. Or my second prediction, I think that she's working closely with the future vice president of the United States and creating hysteria and propaganda, um, for political gain and political influence amongst the human people. Because remember how The Boys ended?
Mhm.
Remember how Homelander killed old buddy in front of that crowd, and like that crowd went nuts
Mhm.
and became like fans of Homelander?
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if Shetty and Veronica are trying to offset that and create hysteria to show, hey, you know, Homeland is doing this, but like, hey, if we're not careful, we could be next. Kind of like how pretty much the whole theme of X-Men, how humans hate mutants, and how
Right.
humans think mutants are so powerful and dangerous and like and need to be controlled. I think Shetty is trying to create that same scenario to create hysteria with the human race.
Those are really, really great points. And I hadn't considered the X-Men kind of analogy, because at one point in one of the movies, there's like this anti-mutant miracle shot that basically makes you normal, right? And a lot of the soups I say soups, hello, mutants.
X-Men Last Stand.
Yeah. A lot of the mutants who have powers that they don't feel maybe are beneficial, like Rogue. She can't touch someone without taking their life force or their powers or whatever, right? She would be one of the first to go and get that injection because her powers are no good, right? Maybe Marie would feel the same way because her blood powers have caused a lot of harm. Now we're seeing it develop, right? She was able to raise Cate's heartbeat when she was having her seizure, right? So she's still developing her power. She's still understanding that she can do some good with her powers, right? But if word gets out about this like virus, or if Vought, because Vought really is a pharmaceutical company, if they try to spin it and say, listen, if you're a soup and you don't want to be a soup anymore, kind of thing, we have the answer for you, right? She would probably be one of those who would take that injection so that she's not viewing herself as a monster, and that maybe her sister would want to have a relationship with her, because in the memory, which we didn't talk about, her sister said, you may tell yourself you're not a monster, this and that, what have you, but you're always going to be a murderer in my eyes. And that's heavy. That's heavy for any person to hear.
That's a great point. That's a great point. I think it's laying seeds because Kate and Marie both look like they're, well, more so Kate. They look like they regret being super able, and now with this memory, being brought to the forefront, Marie, not only is that PTSD, and like she feels bad, but she's embarrassed because now her friends, comrades, see her origin story. It's one thing to tell people like what happened. It's nothing to see it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a level of embarrassment of like, this is how my powers manifested. I killed, my loved ones, and like she's already distraught that her sister sees her as a monster. She may think her friends might see her as a monster as well. So um Kate and Murray both may be one of those two subjects to be like, you know what, I don't want these powers. That they've caused more harm than good. You know what I'm saying? And that could play a part into this virus, this controllable virus that Shady's trying to create with the scientists. So yeah.
How does that help Vought though? Like,
Mhm.
I don't think Vought knows about it
They
though. I don't think Vought knows
uh,
about it.
they may not know it just
Yeah.
yet, but the suggestion that I have about maybe they're going to use that virus to eliminate soups that have those problematic powers. And if this show is going to hand off to season 4 of The Boys,
Mhm.
and the boys, Huey, Butcher, and them catch wind of it, maybe they're going to try to acquire the virus. That way they can give it to Homelander. I don't know. I'm just like, just thinking out loud here, of course, but it wouldn't be 100% surprising if that would be like the new kind of plot line.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because given how powerful Homelander is, and I mean, there's so many other soups also in the world, but I think that the virus is a way to kind of level the playing field. But you're right; it doesn't really help Vought if they're in the superhero business to kill their superheroes. But then again, if they don't really know about it, then that's an interesting wrinkle to it. But you have to think like introducing this in the episode 6 of this series, it's going to carry over to season 4 of The Boys, I would think. So,
Yeah. I mean, the shady things that were going on in Sage Grove,
mm,
obviously trying to inject Compound V in adults as opposed to babies. uh, some was successful, some wasn't, right?
yeah.
So I think the virus could be a potential answer to those that are problematic. I mean, because obviously between Luke and Sam, both incredibly strong boys, incredibly strong superheroes, they're using their blood to augment, uh, you know, all that they're doing. So it's I don't know. It's really it's very interesting. I'm really interested to see just the direction that all this is gonna take.
And we did see a memory where we saw they were taking blood from Sam and giving it to Luke to make him more
Mhm.
powerful. And they had Kate in there because when Luke would wake up, she would have to go over and tell him like your brother's dead. Go to sleep. Forget about this. Like just she had to do that over and over and over.
over. Geez,
For-
the mental
Mm.
Yeah,
mental toll.
Mhm.
but just before that, let's get to Jordan's memory. Now this is coming. We mentioned earlier how we got to see like the meet cute between Kate and Luke. They met in a class, and you know Andre is very uncomfortable because he was with Kate behind Luke's back, and then of course Luke then like the memory version, Luke calls out Andre, and then the three, the trio of Jordan, Marie, and Andre realize that none of their powers are working while they're trapped in these memories. So they're fleeing from Luke.
You're about to say Homelander.
I was about to say Homelander. I was. Yeah. You're right. It was. They're trying to get away from Luke. They end up going to another memory. They end up right outside of Brink's office, and it turns out that's Jordan's memory. And we find out that Jordan had saved Brink from an angry Luke another time. I guess Luke was mad about what he. It was something about Sam. Is that what it was, Brittany?
I think it had something to do, yes, about the woods, and
Okay.
and he wanted to, because he said he wanted to see Sam. So clearly he has enough savvy to kind of work out the things that he's being told to forget, or to believe that Sam is dead. He's going to forget about the blood transfusion, everything that's going on with the woods. But it seems that he's not as strong as Sam is, and they being Brink and Godolkin are trying to, get Luke to be Golden Boy and to be drafted or recruited into the Seven. But he's having these meltdowns, if you will, and he has to be sedated in order to be dealt with. And Jordan had a hand in that. Who knows if I'm assuming maybe that was the first time, or maybe just one of the earlier times that they helped with Brink and saving Brink, because they really cared for Brink. They really wanted Brink to like them and to care for them and be nice to them and all that. So being complicit, right? Is that the word? In all that Brink's doings. You kind of see a different side of Jordan in a way, but you kind of had an idea that they were looking out for themselves. Even after witnessing what was happening with Luke, it's like, well, if Luke's getting an edge, I want to have an edge too. Like, right. I'm sorry, what? Frank, what are your thoughts about Jordan's memory?
I don't feel bad. I feel bad for all these kids. Like, this episode really does a good job of like showing like the Jekyll to the kids Hyde in this episode, and and we have to be very careful how we judge these kids, because we all have a Jekyll and Hyde in us. Now it might be in certain levels, but we all have that split personality, devil on the shoulder, angel on the right shoulder type of ideal. And so when I saw Jordan's story, she's you see the world will never accept her, and that's a big reason why. I mean, never accept them, and it's a big reason why um she never got even considered to be part of the Seven or beyond God you, because I think Ashley said it like, oh, I dual sexual human being, Florida will never accept it. These certain areas of the U.S. never accept her. And for Jordan, is like, you weren't accepted by your parents growing up. We saw that at the fundraiser with her father. You're not accepted amongst the masses, as far as the fans and social media, and like people who want to see these heroes put on a pedestal. And there's one white man who sees you for you know as a human being, like as a being, as a special person. And yes, he manipulated you, but like, if that's the only sense of like of some the only sense of like caring, and like and someone who treats you as somewhat of equal, even though you're being manipulated, you're gonna want that, and hang on to every word. And it's just, again, it's just another example of human beings taking advantage of these young minds, these young kids, for a selfish gain. um I get why the kids are mad, because they see it from their perspective, but being on the outside looking in, and like seeing these kids is like, this could be my son or my daughter, or my little brother, or my little sister. It's they're all being used for a selfish gain. And like, I don't see them as bad guys. I just see them as kids who are being taken advantage of and mentally abused, to make a buck. And That's kind of how I view Jordan.
For me, it's like the I guess the common thread, the common denominator between all those memories is that all three of them have something they have to grapple with in order to like move forward. With Jordan, like they have since the beginning of this season, they have kind of lived under this bubble of like moral, this moral high horse, basically, and they have to confront with themselves the conflict of loyalty to this person versus holding them accountable for like the manipulation and holding themselves accountable for, like I said, the complicity in not stopping Brink and or Luke, before things got to where they ultimately got. So like have that moral high horse is actually holding them back. So like in order for Jordan to become who Jordan wants to be, you have to accept that and you have to move forward knowing, hey, I was complicit. Now, what does that say about me, my ambitions, my goals, and like how do I change that in order to like really maximize their potential? With Marie, again, like so much of her motivations and her being is about trying to avenge what happened to her parents in order to like, impress or getting back in good graces with her sister. Maybe that's just not something that needs to happen. Like maybe you just have to accept that this was a tragic accident because she just did not know how to control these powers that she had just really found out about. And this is just a consequences of things that happened before and that are out of control. And that in order for her to be happy and maximize and again become the Marie she wants to become, I'm not saying she has to put that memory of what happened to her parents aside, but she has to accept it and not let it like restrict and confine her, at least mentally. And Andre just has to get out of this thing like his own moral high horse. Like he wants to talk about his dad and like the things that he knows and is kind of complicit in, but that doesn't make him a good guy himself. Like you, for somebody that you loved and cared for, you betrayed your friend. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't, Cate certainly had her own role in it. Like they both have to deal with that, but like you betrayed your friend. Like you have to bring yourself down. And he's gonna need forgiveness for like the shitty things that he did from everybody else. So like he should extend that same grace out to Cate. You know what I'm saying? These are young kids. Like these are like early 20s, but like even if they were humans, like they would not be fully developed. So like there's still an amount of grace that they have to extend themselves before they can extend it to other people.
Yeah, it's well said. So after going through all the different memories for all three of the characters, Jordan, Marie, and Andre, the trio convinces they confront Cate. They convince her like yes, take responsibility for her actions, which causes them all to wake up. Kate's awake, and then just in time, Sam and Emma appear. Sam sees Cate. He remembers her, and he goes after her rightfully. Emma has to talk him down, which shows kind of her. Again, I don't know that's maybe one of her powers, but obviously she can connect with Sam on a multiple levels, but certainly like she appeals. Yeah, she appeals to him on an emotional level, definitely.
Physical.
Yeah, right. Oh, here we go, Brittany, with the visual aid there. We have our own Tech Knight up there.
Shut up.
Yeah. So anyway, the resolution of the episode is all the kids decide that like they're going to go after Shetty. And as Marie says that, there's no turning back at this point. Pretty exciting finish to the episode. Frank, what do you expect for next week?
Oh man.
I will add one thing. We did see Newman was in a scene with Marie in the teaser. So I'm not sure if she's the benefactor, which you predicted a few weeks ago, or maybe Newman just goes to campus on some like political rally or something. Who knows? But it is interesting how prominent she was. Kind of how Soldier Boy is prominent in this week's teaser. So.
Man, it's so hard to tell. I mean, this show is the show is so grand, and there's so many avenues it can go. I really don't know. I don't know. I know it's going to be grand, and I know it's going to be even more surprises. Um, I mean, we may get we. I still think some effects from season 3 of The Boys might show up in next week's episode, like because it's I find it weird they still haven't talked about like what went down with Soldier Boy and what went down at Vought Tower. I still think something of from that series is gonna leak into this because this is what it's 8 episodes, right, in season 1.
Yeah, we got 2 more to go.
Yeah, I think with Veronica Newman coming, I think that this might be like the I guess like the aftermath of what happened at Vought Tower with Soldier Boy and like and the rest of the boys. So I think that may play a part in next week's episodes.
Brittany, you got a prediction for next week or
I
looking
definitely
ahead?
I definitely feel that Veronica is making the rounds because she obviously has political aspirations. That much is obvious. The conversation that she has with Marie in Godolkin and the exchange of I can't Marie saying I can't just pretend to be a student like nothing's happening here. So either Marie has revealed to Newman about what's happening under the school, or Newman's already aware of it and is just playing the political game. Now, whether because she has a hand in it herself or because she's just waiting for the right time to expose, I don't know. It's kind of hard to read her at times. I mean, hell, I think we were all extremely surprised when we found out she was the one causing everyone's heads to pop, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to obviously know her train of thought. Either way, Newman tells Marie that there's 2 paths and you can't live both, or you can't walk both paths, right? You have to decide where you're going to stand. So it's almost kind of like, you're either with me or you're my enemy sort of vibe in my personal opinion. It looks like there's a rally. It looks like soups are there and some kind of havoc is going to be had. And I couldn't quite tell if it was maybe Cate that was being taken away somewhere. It appeared to be like a bald young woman who's screaming, while inside a vehicle. There's an ambulance involved, and Andre and Marie are in there. There's a lot going on.
A lot of quick cuts.
A lot of quick cuts. Yeah. A lot of quick cuts. There seems to be a lot happening in the penultimate for season 1 of Gen V. I'm here for it. I'm excited. I'm really curious as to Veronica Newman's role in all of this.
Bomb
Victoria.
just murdered a ball to left center. I'm sorry. It's his 1-1 now.
Oh God.
I have just turned from there. Victoria Newman, by the way. My prediction is that Cate memory rapes Christian Javier and he comes back out.
Jesus.
And we restart game 7.
Turns
Yes.
into 1999 Pedro Martinez.
Oh my goodness.
That's what's going to happen.
Frank's hurting. Look at that.
I think that we find out whether Shetty is working with Vought for some nefarious thing that they're cooking up together, or that she's actively working against Vought. I think that becomes clear in episode 7. It could go either way for me, because on one end you could see that she's working as, I guess, in some ways like PR, just as a fixer for Vought, to kind of make sure nobody knows about Sam, and as Sam's escaped, everybody thinks Sam is dead. She's kind of helped manipulate the kids to forget these things in a way that would benefit Vought, but what she's doing with this disease, like, I can't really fully get a hold on. So either that's some personal thing, like some have speculated, or Vought just has these really big plans for what to do with these suits, or the issues that they've been having with suits. So I think that gets clarified in episode 7. Maybe we find out if Victoria Newman is Marie's benefactor or not, or just an interested party, but I'm very interested in seeing like the contents of that conversation. And ultimately, I think the Gen V kids like start gearing up for war against whatever entity. I think that we find that out by the end of this week's episode.
Yeah.
Tell you right now, Gen V got a weapon of mass destruction with Sam, bro. I take Gen V by -8.5.
Yeah.
and I wonder too. I mentioned this earlier in one of our other pods, if Andre's dad, Polarity, is going to be caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, we've got to see him again this season. I mean,
For sure.
Only 2 episodes left, but they always pack a lot of content in the 2 episodes. So I just want to say, like, to round out this episode, I think this is my favorite episode thus far. Gen V, obviously they've only had 6, but I think this is like right up there with some of the best episodes of The Boys. From
Oh yeah.
I think the final 3 episodes of season 3, I think every episode of season 3 was awesome, but the final 3 were really good. I think this is right there with them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. I think Shetty working against Vought is really interesting. Hopefully that's what happens, because then you kind of have, if we just find out she's like the big bad and she's working with the big bad corporation, I mean, it can work, but I think that's kind of, for them, that's a little too safe. Like, I think it's more interesting if she's like, she's like preparing to go to war against everybody with this virus, which, that could very well be what her plan is. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with the final 2 episodes of season 1 of Gen V. So that about does it for what we think about this episode. We want to know what you think about this episode of Gen V. And Brittany, how can people tell us what they think?
Let us know in the comments down below. If you're watching the replay, we appreciate it. Let us know what you think in our next live stream. So make sure that you are subscribed. You hit that notification bell. That way you know when our next live stream will be. And also don't forget to like this video. It does help out our channel a lot. We're at 283 subscribers, y'all. So let's get to that goal of 300 by the end of the year. Make it happen. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, /X, Instagram, and Threads at Watchers Basement. You can use that same hashtag Watchers Basement. I can talk, I promise, to help us grow our audience. And we've got you covered not only on video podcasts, but we've got you covered for audio podcasts. So hit us up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you're following us everywhere where you find your audio podcasts, and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany, for Tristan, for Frank, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Diddle that skittle.
Save the puppets.